How can you use AI to launch a new business? In this episode, we'll be breaking down how entrepreneurs can deploy AI and gain the competitive advantage they need to beat the competition. We are joined by a special guest, entrepreneur, and aspiring actor, Chris Abbott. You don't want to miss this one.
Welcome to the show, where AI takes the floor. Leah Rich on the mic.
Okay, technical difficulties. We are now back, and Rich, I'm surprised you went with a wardrobe change. Can you tell me what you got going on over there as the internet just cut out in the entire country?
Yeah. Well, we're not all, swimming in rivers of gold in the United States of America. As a Budapestan, I support our people here, even though we do have slow Wi-Fi. So I will never bow down to capitalism. I will be. I don't mind waiting minutes for my megabits to upload. I'm a changed man, Lee. The internet is.
I know Europe has definitely changed you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you're like
to the god of broadband, and not on dial-up over here. I'm perfectly happy. I don't even need internet anymore. All I need is Buddha and Pest.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness,
that's how it works.
For our listeners, or listener, you should definitely visit Budapest. In fact, it's an amazing place. It really is. It's crazy cool, amazing. For those who are playing our geography game at home or geography bingo, there's actually two cities, Buda and Pest, and it's divided by the Danube River. I didn't know that, but now I do. Yeah.
I'm not going to take that with a grain of salt. I'm going to look it up after this podcast.
100%. You should.
Yeah,
you should
we're going to do some fact check throw in the show.
Why don't we ask AI if that is true?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. We'll throw up a link that follows like a screen share of it to make sure we fact check Rich. But I do want to. We were talking a little bit about Chris's company and kind of how he started this up and where this concept came from to utilize AI with this doc migration and like a reference point. But coming from your backgrounds, as we're saying, let's say tomorrow you decide you want to start a new company with all of these different AI tools. Where are you guys, I guess, planting that flag and focusing on like the areas of impact that you think AI could assist with in those early stages for these entrepreneurial ventures? Do you guys have any take on that?
You go first.
Yeah,
Chris.
we are building franchise software. We're actually in our third incarnation of the actual franchise software. The first couple we built for other ventures, but we made them franchisable. The other one we built for a client, then we sent that away. And then as we kind of started up shop here at the beginning of this year in 2024, it was, hey, we're going to build our own software based off of everything we've learned to be the franchise of all franchise softwares. And with the introduction of AI, it's one of those things where I've actually had to take a step back, maybe even kill, 30, 40% of code architecture or our concepts or ideas, because we really took a step back and we said, if we're building these home service franchises, we're in the home service franchise space. What if we take a step back and we think about, our ideal client is someone who's doing what we call a lifestyle business, right? They're going to mow lawns for a living. They're going to clean pools. They're going to wash windows. They're going to do screen repair. They're going to replace AC. These are things where it's a lifestyle business. They're going to make in the six figures. They're going to support their family and have a nice lifestyle. But at the same time, they don't have an office. They don't have someone answering the phones. They don't have someone doing the books. So we had to take a step back and go, what if we re-envisioned how we built this? And instead of building tools to enable them to do these items, what if we actually used AI just from the very beginning? Everything from our own technology right now, where our first franchise is doing temp AC out in locations. We have this entire message system that goes back and forth, and we have to see those messages. Now it's really cool because we plug in and it gets text to them, but it comes to our central platform. But what if we replace the person with AI and they know everything there is to know about temp AC and can answer those questions and only notify the owner of that franchise when there's something that needs to get their input. So I would say from an architectural standpoint, like it has changed the way that I'm looking at scaling up something big and building things that are kind of half built. It's like typically you'd build something and it did something. Now we're building something that kind of does something and we're letting AI kind of fill the gaps and do the actions for us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a great approach. I mean, I think what we're witnessing with an AI first kind of mentality when building out apps is, as Chris mentioned, you do have to change your perspective on how you do architecture. And you might, we're all very big fans of iterative development and, rapid application development as kind of a core methodology, just because you don't want to sit there and take years. But now with AI, you almost have to consider, how can AI become a very critical business function of the actual user, or in this case, employee inside of that franchise, in Chris's use case, not just a application that's being used by that employee. So you're kind of taking a bigger step. And it's a perfect bullseye when you're talking about small business, because like Chris mentioned, small businesses, many times, they're not available to work 24/7. If they are working 24/7, they're spending time away from their family, from, well-deserved time off, or whatever else that they want to do in their life. As we've all owned small businesses, so, it can consume you. And then secondly, they may not be able to support or hire a support rep or a sales rep. And so when somebody does make that query, especially in some of the service industry, where most people are calling about a broken air conditioning on the weekend, and it's an emergency. And so how do you deal with these kind of, real-time 24/7 response, so that they don't go to a competitor, right? So all these, it just becomes so logical to have a computer, be available or act as a support and sales representative. But I don't know why it was so hard for me to say that.
It's the internet in your brain now shutting down.
Out of America, I can't speak English anymore.
One of the things I think is really crazy, Rich, though, too, is like the clients, like you do have to take the step back. Like when I originally looked at it, I was like, okay, we're going to make stuff for the clients. And then the users of the software are then finding unique ways to use the exact same. So for association docs, we had never thought about the fact that a CAM or a property manager could be on site, and then they could just text the bot, the number for the community, and just be like, hey, there's a car parked in here, or someone's asking me this question, blah, blah, blah. And it can give answers in the field. They don't have to call an office. They don't have any documents with them. They don't have to do a search. It's almost like just hitting Google, asking the question, but it going and referencing the exact information that needs to come back. So you're not going through pages and pages of results. You're getting the single result with specific information pointing you to the answer in case you need to reference a backup or prove that it's correct.
Yeah. It's amazing stuff. I mean, we're at the beginnings of it. I think a lot of what you read, we're in the infrastructure phase of kind of a 3-phase, I think, transformation of tech. And we're still very much early in the infrastructure phase, not too dissimilar to when the internet was deploying broadband and we didn't have the ability to do video streaming. We didn't have the ability to, the 5G networks weren't available. So you didn't have the ability to have cellular phones with broadband. But, once the infrastructure is built, in the case of like the chips, the hyperscalers deploying their servers and allowing for tools and middleware to deploy these things at scale, when we enter into the application development side of things, which should happen or is happening now, that you're going to start to see a lot of existing businesses that have architected their software in the quote unquote old way are going to have to make some serious decisions on how to embrace moving forward. Are they going to have to do a rewrite? Are they going to do an AI first kind of architecture? Or are they going to kind of just slap AI on top of it and hope that people don't notice? So like, with your business starting at the beginning, thinking AI first, seems to me like it's going to be, highly compelling and competitive, even against companies that may have had software in that industry for 10, 20 years, because you're not just bringing another piece of software, which quite honestly, I don't think most people like software. And I don't think most people get excited about logging into software, right? So
we have software burnout for sure.
Actually
we're
a
all in
worker,
the space, but
an entity or a system or service that actually does the job. I don't think people have really given that, especially software companies, like legacy software companies. I don't think they have really kind of acknowledged that at the level that they should have, which is, no, we're not actually in the, you're not really in the software business. You're kind of in this new kind of weird business of like, you're giving people employees. They just happen to be digital employees. You're almost in this like outsourcing kind of business, right? It's really, it's such an interesting dynamic
now
that's happening. It's exciting to see, and it's very cool what you're doing. I love the app. I actually used it for my daughter's HOA, where she was having issues with one of her window. And it's the same thing. I took all the docs, I put them into the AI, and I started asking questions. And then I went to the board meeting, and then I shared the link with the board, and they were like, "Oh, this is amazing," because even they are like, "I don't even know how to ask. I don't want to read 1,000 page documents that."
Yeah, I'll go give this to our temp, and they're gonna have to scour through it and find the stuff
and
that
these people,
you need.
and the board isn't paid.
No, they're all volunteer.
They're not like going to. But they don't want to also, they're the board, right? And there's litigious elements to it in the sense that they need to answer the question correctly.
And no one wants to do that kind of work. At the end of the day, people want to work as little as possible. And I do want to touch base on something that you said, because I've seen it in multiple demos. And it was, I do not want another platform that I have to log into. And we heard that over and over. And so when we actually built association docs, we built it address based. And so you just entered an address and everything was connected to an address, so that you didn't have to have a login, you didn't have to have credentials, you didn't have to have anything else. But one of the things that really, really has resonated with the people that we've talked to and clients is texting, and connecting like my friend Tim Walsh likes to say. He goes, use existing play patterns. Don't try to invent a new process. Do what people already are comfortable in doing. And people are super comfortable texting. And the reality is that no one cares or knows who at the other end of that text, right? As long as they're getting responses back that feel like a human and are valid, then there's systematically nothing wrong or perceived wrong in their case.
Yeah, that's exactly why when we built out Rhea, which is our platform, the first thing that we had, the top 3 things that we had in what we wanted to create was, when we deploy an AI assistant, we wanted to make sure that you could build it with zero code, that you could train it with having no knowledge of supervised learning, unsupervised learning, machine learning, all that crap that we know, but we don't want our users to have to know. And the most important part is we want that AI assistant to be, have multi-channel communication capability, because we don't necessarily, the live chat stuff is nice. In some cases, it works very well. You slap it on a website, or in the case of like a chat GPT, you can access it direct. But text and email is exactly where our AI assistants, they use that. And it's such an easy thing. Now it's like the user interface is text, email, and then now we came out with voice. So it's like, it's an aha moment for me, because we're so trained to go onto a site and log in and 2FA and then learn to scroll down, navigation, right click, and it's like, what can we imagine a world with all that gone?
Right.
And it's almost like a kind of an internal goal of mine with Rhea is like, I wonder if I could operate, or we could build systems smart enough with AI that you can operate a business for the most part without having to log in. Like even our sales reps, do we really need a CRM system? I don't know. So this is like an interesting internal challenge that I know that we're doing. And it sounds like you guys are also kind of doing it from a customer facing. It's like your customers are demanding it. They're like, don't give me another CRM or another ERP or another whatever three-letter acronym that I've been buying from everybody else. Just give me access to something that can answer.
And the reality is, Rich, is that, he had mentioned Rhea to me at first in passing, and I was like, I wouldn't say a hard no. What it was like, no, I don't think it really matches. And I did the onboarding, and I didn't see the connection right away. And it wasn't until I came back and I was like, this is my exact problem. He's like, no, I swear, I promise you, Rhea's the issue, or Rhea's the solution to what you need. And when we took a mindset shift, right? And we said, okay, we're going to stop coding and building this. So it'd be the same as someone going, oh, I'm going to go build a Twilio. I'm going to go build a Stripe. I'm going to go build one of these other things. And then one of the things that Rich stressed me is like, this stuff's changing really quick. And Chris, you really don't want to be in this business. You want to be in the association doc business and getting clients and onboarding. And we made a quick shift, right?
Absolutely.
And I think within maybe 2 weeks, we had made the shift, connected to Rhea. Our developers were working with their team and literally fixed the few little, what I wouldn't call them bugs. It was just like, we're learning so fast. You're like stumbling over yourself going, what can I do? What can I do?
Yeah, there's hangups and different.
And we got that fixed. Yeah. And then we literally shifted all of our development resources off of a lot of, the vector stores and the questions and sending and receiving and API connections. Yeah. And we sort of focused on what was important, which was improving the platform for user experience and focusing on sales and letting that piece be managed.
Yeah, and also, I mean, you haven't witnessed it yet, but we've gone through 3 iterations with OpenAI's API, and literally every time they release a new API or release a new version of OpenAI's models, they make seismic shifts, right? For example, they were very big. One of the reasons why a lot of integrators are frustrated with the current versions of like OpenAI assistants because they moved away from kind of a RAG architecture into the vector store. And they did, it was not like it was like, yeah, we're no longer doing file retrieval. It's dead. So everybody who's built that, and can you imagine you would have to now take dedicated resources and go, okay, well, if I want to support this new 4.0 model, and I got to go, but I got to take all my development resources and they have to rebuild this plumbing of this. I don't want to do, but whereas we just automatically support it, upgrade it, and it was done. All you had to do was a pull down menu. Okay, boot 4.0 done. So yeah, your comparison to Stripe and other things are dead on. And then of course now, I haven't even showed you this, Chris. We've just launched this sandbox where you actually do human feedback training, and it's super exciting. It's a new interface for the developer, to go in, look at the bot, see what their questions answers are, whether they're auto-generated or actual really questions and answers that are coming in from the field. And you can give it, human feedback. Yes, that was a good answer. No, that was a bad answer. And here, put the new answer in, right? And I think that's another component of that doesn't come out of the box with OpenAI. And these are just extensions that we're trying to bring to the market that we know everybody needs. But to go and build that, it takes away from your core business. You're in the business of selling software to HOAs or whatever other businesses you're trying to leverage. And
exactly,
it makes so sense to, and it's also things are moving so fast. So it's just easier,
You guys also touched on it a little bit earlier too, and I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but it's also giving businesses the ability to kind of provide some grace on the AI side, right? Knowing that this is not a Facebook or a Google that's just here's everything you could ever want for your business. They're in the early stages too. So being able to have something that you can kind of step in with non-Silicon Valley training, right? And be able to say, oh, I can put this into my business and it's not some sci-fi movie. I think that is the biggest power shift that I've seen in a long time when it comes to, some type of tech that a business can use. Software can be really beneficial, but also extremely cumbersome when it comes to getting it up and running and making deployments. So the ease of use and the ease of making adjustments on the fly, I think, speaks to how a lot of businesses nowadays, both small to medium, but also getting into the enterprise world,
I think
how they need to move with new
even
initiatives.
in the case of Chris, when he was struggling, as he mentioned, and he kind of came in the office and was like, hey, let's see what Ray can do. And we literally uploaded a couple docs and had a bot up and running off of OpenAI, which is great because he can still leverage all the stuff that he's already built or in the future wants to build. It's still built on the OpenAI system. But with Rhea as this kind of launch pad, we were able to launch kind of a very quick beta, within hours, which was great, or minutes. And then, of course, we had to refine it and test it. But ultimately, it was just that rapid application development, that speed to market, and then be able to focus on making that assistant that much better and focus on the training. And that's really what this is about. It's less about coding. And I think all the smart architects are going to ultimately start moving at least away from coding and leveraging their architect experience, but they're going to have to start looking at, okay, how do I train and tell this bot what to do? Even if it could be a bot that actually interfaces their code. So yeah, it's just super cool stuff.
It is super cool. And what's interesting in the demos there,
another 3-letter acronym.
When we were doing these demos,
good.
It was, we were talking about the similarities between, really good stuff and stuff that's out there and the grace period allowed for new technology. And they sit there and go, they would give different responses back, and the client would say, well, can we get it back this way? And I'd say, yeah, we'll just teach it or tell it to give the answers in the way that you would like to have your subdivision, your HOA receive those answers. So if you want every answer to reflect the exact location of where you find that in the text, we'll just tell it to give it that. And they're like, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And again, no coding, no anything. Go in, update the notes, retrain the bot on how to give answers back. And I mean, it is truly amazing.
Yeah, we had a client.
That's Rich's QE
we had a
protocol,
client who wanted to
basically
change the way the AI answered based on a version of product. And we went in there and just told the AI, hey, man, stop answering questions about this version. make sure you ask the people what version they're on, and then don't only give them answers about that. I can't even imagine how difficult that would be if I had to code that, you know?
Yeah.
Because I would have to sit here and go, okay, well, first of all, we're going to have to somehow find a way to, in a table, in a database, identify all these different functions and features relative to a version. Then I'm going to have to somehow, it's just a whole, nightmare that a developer would never want to hear versus literally telling it in language.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, just like you would tell a person on the phone, hey, that's not version 8, that's version 10, and be done with it.
It's also changed our training videos. So before, when we make a training video, it was like a nightmare. I'd literally do the training video, record it, then we'd hire a voice actor. Voice actor would come in and try to line up the exact words and do it and get multiple things. Then we'd have to merge the audios together. Now I just make a training video, upload it. It goes through an entire dubbing sequence, and it knows all the inflections, the pauses, and the everything else. I mean, if I could maybe change my avatar out in the bottom corner, which I think is actually possible now, you would literally have, anyone in the world giving these amazing training videos. And I bet you in a couple of years.
We started using a company called Synthesia or something like that for all of our training videos. You can upload you can video and do your own avatar, but they also have like a catalog of avatars. It's a game changer because before I would have to be like, okay, I got to get somebody to do this. Nobody's really good at, they're always going to flub up. You're going to have to edit it. You're going to have to like, oh, they said the wrong thing. I mean, especially if it was me, as obvious of this podcast.
Their internet cut out mid like podcast.
You got to train the trainer. It's like,
3.
I know the system back and forth. I might as well just give the demo. Now I can give it, and it's just transformed into something beautiful. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, guys, I know we're coming up on time here, and Chris, we appreciate you taking the time to join us and have some good conversation. Rip on Rich is always fun with me too, so we'd love to have you back again in the future and dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
Some of the stuff
We're building some really cool stuff with AI. We're leveraging Rhea, and I would love to be able to give updates and be like, hey, this is how it's actually transforming. These are the results that we're getting. Love to share that kind of stuff with people who are into.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of the goal of this pod is to kind of watch it in the process too. So we'll definitely have you back on and kind of give updates, because I think it's interesting to people to watch not just like some talking head saying this is awesome, like and then over and out. It's more like, hey, this is what I thought on day 1. Here's what I think on day 30. Here's what and I think people relate, especially developers or architects or even business owners. They go, oh, I'm experiencing that same arc, right? Like that's the one thing that entrepreneurs are always, at least for me personally, I'm always trying to grasp onto what is everybody else experiencing. And I think that's what podcasts are really there for, is to kind of say, oh, I'm not the only one who's freaking out about this or that, or I'm getting that, so I think this is going to be great to have that storyline. So we'll definitely have you back.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us on this episode. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button to stay in touch. Also, check out our Substack for more content, which will be linked to this episode to continue the discussion. We appreciate you listening to us be seriously stupid, and hopefully we came off surprisingly smart as well. Take care, everyone.
Takes the flow, Leah Rich on the mic, ready to explore.